welcome to another episode of me reading a book. In this installment, I read The Weight of Feathers by McLemore? McLemore. I'm really bad at authors' names, I'm so sorry. I went into this completely not knowing what it was about. I don't even remember why I picked it up. I think someone recommended it to me, for sure. And I think the reason I picked it up was because they said it had like a very magical feel to it, and they said like it was very poetic and beautiful. I think that's why I picked it up. Also, I think the cover is really beautiful, and I thought it would be like a really beautiful read. That's kind of what I thought I was gonna get out of it. If you don't know the story of this, it follows two families that are both kind of traveling circus type of families. They both have their own speciality. One family, I don't even know how to explain it. Like they just like climb trees. They wear feathers, like bird feathers, and like it looks really cool when they climb the trees. They call them like fairies. They have like flower crowns and they look all beautiful, and that's their act. And then the other family is the Palomas, and their act is that they are mermaids. So like they wear like fishtails and then they like swim around in a lake and entertain people that way. But it's a little more complicated than that. Like there's a little bit of magic involved. But I'm not going to say too much about that because I think it's better if you just read it. And these two families have a rivalry. They both believe the other family has done bad things to them and like you can't trust them, and you know, they're competitors. And at one point, one of the Corbeaus and one of the Palomas kind of meet, and the ball starts rolling, and we follow their relationship, but also kind of we discover a lot about the history between these two families and why they are the way they are. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all you need to know going into this. It's very much a romance. I didn't know this when I picked it up. I should have known it. I read it and I had opinions, and I think we're gonna jump into the read along. So that I can like properly discuss my actual feelings about the book. So please enjoy that. I am going to start reading The Weight of Feathers. Don't know what it's about. Let's see. Okay, first impressions. Seems like we got a little bit of like a Romeo and Juliet vibe going on, which I'm not exactly a fan of, but you know, it could be done in a really good way, so I'm not really gonna judge that. I like the whole traveling performers thing. I don't really get it yet though. Like the girls' family, they're like mermaids and like they wear tails and stuff, but like I don't get how that's like a performance. Like how do people watch that? I'm not sure what that is. And then they explained a little bit of what the performance of the Corbeau family was. Like they were like jumping from branch to branch, like wearing wings, and I again, in my head it doesn't look that spectacular. Like it's just people climbing trees with wings, although I do like the idea of the costumes, like the feather costumes and stuff. Yeah, that's cool. I hope it's not gonna be too cliche. The amount of foreign words in this is really starting to annoy me. The Spanish, like I don't know what all these words mean, and like I don't think it's fair to assume that people understand it. And sometimes it's good, you know, when there's people who speak a different language to use some of those words, but I feel like it's done a little too much to the point where I don't understand what they're talking about like at all, and it kind of messes up the story. Like they kept talking about where is it? Escamas? And I was like, what the hell is that? And like I was just like, you're not supposed to have trouble with that as a reader, so I thought I'm just gonna keep reading and I'll find out. But like it got to the point where they kept talking about it and I was like, what the hell are they talking about? So I like looked it up, and now I know that they're scales. But like I'm already, you know, further in the story, so I'm like really confused. I like, do they have scales on their face? I'm very confused now. Like this whole thing is confusing, and it shouldn't be this confusing. I don't know. I'm hoping this gets better because I'm struggling already, and I'm like on page 15. On the other hand, I do understand their acts a little bit better. Like they're more like tourist attractions than anything, you know, like Cirque du Soleil type of thing, because that's what I was expecting first, that it was going to be like this really spectacular thing, but it's pretty much like tourist attractions. But like still pretty cool. I read a little bit more on my lunch break yesterday and I wrote some stuff down. I find the writing a little odd sometimes. There's like these comparisons that are made. For example, on page 20, the force spun through his head. He felt his brain whipping up like one of his aunt's meringues. Beat to stiff peaks, just add sugar. And like, I love a good comparison. In general, I really like it when authors do this, but in here, I've had it a couple times already where like, it's just a little jarring. At this point, there's like a fight going on and he's like being beat up. But then suddenly it starts talking about meringues and like she even adds beet to stiff peaks, just add sugar, and it just like completely takes me out of the moment. I don't know, I don't like it. The writing, I'm not so sure about it. Also, I'm starting to realize that the magic, I guess it is magical realism, like you don't really know what's magic and what's real. Apparently these girls are growing scales and these boys are actually growing feathers out of their hair, but then like their performances don't really have any magic to them. This part of the story intrigues me and I do want to find out more. I think our two main characters met each other, are Romeo and Juliet, I'm guessing. And they like had no idea that they were from rivaling families. Like they just had no idea, which I don't know how. Like I feel like they would know each other. So I'm on page 90 right now. The rain thing happened. That was intense. That was really, really terrifying. Like to the point that I couldn't believe that it was happening and that she was just like sitting there. Like I thought she would have died. I thought like somebody was gonna die. And now she is all burned up and she has this mark of a feather on her, which is the mark of the gypsy dudes. So she has to leave. Like that grandma is so intense. This family is so cutthroat. Like they just like throw her out. I feel so bad for her because she's very young. Like if that was me, I would just have like what do you do? Also, I want to say, as much as I've been kind of ripping on this book, I do have to admit that the story intrigues me. The magic of it intrigues me. You know, the idea that just by like small contact, now she has this like mark on her. Like what does that mean? Is it a curse? Is it not? Also, I can't imagine that the dude, what's his name, Cluck, by the way, Cluck is the most ridiculous name I've ever heard. I can't believe that Cluck would have laid the net for her. I feel he wouldn't, would he? I feel like he seemed like such a chill, nice guy. I like where it's going now. Lace somehow ended up as the makeup artist for the French people, which I kind of like. I think this is an interesting, I'm tired, an interesting turn of events. Okay, I have a question. I've been thinking about this. Why is Cluck seen as the bad child in the family? Has this been explained? I don't know. Is it because he was born with like the red things in his hair and they think it's like evil or something? Why is he the bad guy in the family? Because I feel like it's so rude. Like who does that? Both of these families, they're like so cutthroat. They're so like fierce. And I'm not saying that as like a bad thing about this book. It's just like, it's shocking to me. And like I just wonder why. And why is Dax, who honestly comes off as a complete asshole, why is he seen as the good guy in the family? Like, shouldn't their mom kind of know that Dax is kind of rude all the time and that Cluck is just like a hardworking guy? Like I don't really get it. I need a little more background information on that. The rivalry between these two families is so, like, it seems so childish in a way, but like how did it start exactly? We've heard about incidents, like, you know, some people put out nets. Like, how did it all start and why is it so serious? Like, how did it get to this? Like, that's what I'm really wanting to find out. Also, the idea that Lace is there and nobody knows that she's one of the Palomas, I like that a lot. You know that moment's gonna come when they find out, and I can't wait for that moment. That makes me sound really mean, but like it's like nerve-wracking to read now because any moment she might be found out, and that's really exciting. I feel like her breasts are mentioned an awful lot, like to the point where it's just kind of like I just wonder why, because I'm never this aware of my breasts. I'm never like, oh, my breasts are cold, or like my breasts are feeling hot, or something like that, like, you know? But this lady very much is. I don't know, this is like the first time in a book that I've seen breasts being mentioned so often. Also, still, the constant mentioning of like Spanish and French words that I don't understand is just like, please stop, because I have no idea what you're talking about half the time. I really don't want to dislike this book. Like, I really want to love this book, but you're making it hard. Honestly, it's mostly the writing. Okay, it went down. He found out. He was very angry. She was very angry. And they just kind of bickered about their family's history, and like, yeah. I just really wish I cared more. I don't know. I really wish I liked this book more. But like, still, I do want to keep reading because like I want to know something's gonna continue. Okay, this part was really hard to read. This time, not in like a bad way. Like, I'm not dissing the book at this point. Like, about like how Dax is really messed up. I mean, we knew that, but like how he broke Cluck's fingers and stuff, and just that's some heavy stuff. I'm at page 200 now. I'm slowly starting to like enjoy it more, which I'm quite happy about. I'm like, yeah, like it's alright. Honestly, what I want out of this book is for these two families to realize that like everything's okay and that they can be friends, and like I just want them to have like a show together, you know, like mermaids and fairies, just make like a show together. I think that would be really cool. I hope that's how it ends. One thing I do like about this book, I like how like there's these elements of magic, but like it's kind of blurred with reality, and like you don't know what's real and what's not, and like slowly things unfold and you start to realize kind of how it works, but never completely. How there seems to be some magic running in their families. This one family grows feathers out of their hair, and this other family grows scales out of their body. I don't know, like that, like those kinds of things always intrigue me, and I think that's the main reason why I do keep reading. That kind of stuff really fascinates me. Okay, I have a question. Why is she learning how to do the climbing in the trees with the wings and stuff? Why did he make the wings for her? Why is she doing this now? Because like at first she was like, oh, why are you like trying to convert me or something, and like, but then she just did it anyways, and I'm like, why are they doing this? I guess like she showed him her tail and her swimming around, and I guess he wanted to return the favor. I don't know, this all just feels very dangerous. Like they're gonna get caught and there's gonna be a war, and it's just like, I feel like they're not being very careful. I think Cluck's grandfather is a really interesting character. I just read the part where he dies, which, you know, it's not great. But yeah, I liked him a lot as a character. There's also one other thing that I wonder about, which is like Cluck and Lace just had that conversation about like how maybe Lace could stay with him and they could keep traveling with the French people, but I wonder why they don't just decide to leave, like the both of them, because clearly it's just not a good place to be. So I wonder why they haven't come up with the idea of just leaving the both of them. I feel like that would just solve everything, because now they just had this big fight with like Cluck saying he can't be with her anymore in like the aftermath of his granddad dying, which I get it, like he's emotional, but like I still stand by my point of like they love each other. They could just start a life together. They don't need the family. I don't think he even really cares that much about like the show and his family. He cared about his granddad a lot, but you know, he's not here anymore. So in a way, I feel like it cuts off his ties to the family even more than they already were. But I feel like we still have something to figure out about this family. I feel like there's still some secrets in the family regarding Cluck and why they treat him so badly. It can't just be because his feathers are red. There's something more to it, right? Also, I want to figure out who his granddad was dating from the Paloma family, and I want to know what happens with all of that. Okay, I've just read the part where like a lot of things have come out. Cluck or Luke is actually like the child of a Paloma, kind of? I don't know, I'm a little confused because I'm like, are Cluck and Lace related? I'm not sure. I need to like check that because that would be weird. That would not be great. But I did kind of see that coming. Like I felt like that was bound to be the reason. Like why else would his whole family hate him so much, and his mom especially? She couldn't have been his real mom. But then like I was confused because if it was a Paloma, then that means that he would be related to Lace. But I think Laura, I think that her name is, she's not blood related. I don't know. I need to like figure that out. The family trees in this are difficult. One more thing I found out was about the sinkhole that happened because of the plant and not because of the black magic, which I guess makes sense. It's finally like all like coming together, and I always really like that. So I really want to keep reading, but I have to go to work. So we're just gonna do that, and maybe I'll finish it tonight. Okay, I just finished it. I don't know, it was okay, I guess. I don't know, like I'm gonna be honest, it was not for me. I wouldn't say it's like a bad book. I am reading the author's note right now. It seems like this book was based upon the author's experience with falling in love with a trans guy, and like that like kind of gives a whole new insight into the whole story, and it's really interesting. She explains like why she wrote what she wrote and why certain themes were present. I really like that. I'm gonna continue reading it, and I think tomorrow I'm just gonna wrap up my thoughts. Good night. Okay, we're back. As you could probably tell from the clips you just saw, the book wasn't for me. The writing I wasn't a big fan of. The author often used comparisons that were a little jarring for me, and like I think it was trying to be poetic, but to me it seemed a little misplaced sometimes, or like suddenly there would be this like comparison to something that would just completely drag me out of the story, and I think that's kind of too bad, because I think if the writing had been more compelling for me, then I would have probably enjoyed this book a lot more. Also, there's a lot of use of Spanish words and French words. I like that generally in a book. I think it brings a lot to a book when it makes sense, but I feel like it was a little overused. It got to the point where it felt a little silly sometimes. Like there would be like this one sentence and like half the words would be in Spanish and half of them would be in English, and it would just be like what the, you know, like it was weird. And like I often had no idea what they were talking about, because like my Spanish is non-existent and my French is honestly not that good. I feel like you should be able to understand what you should understand even if you don't know the other languages. Yeah, it just, no, I didn't like it. It was too much. It was too much, I think. As for the story is actually what kept me reading. The story was intriguing. Like I wanted to know what was going on between these families. I wanted to know why they were so angry at each other this whole time. I like that very, very slowly it gets unraveled. It takes its time in telling you, and you get like little piece by little piece of the puzzle, and that I really liked about it, and I felt like that was done really well. The part about the story that didn't interest me as much was like the Romeo and Juliet type of thing of this, because I just feel like it's so overdone. Like it's so overdone, you know what I mean? It's like the classic forbidden love type of thing, and like their situation wasn't even that original, I thought. Like it's like the basic thing you go to with the forbidden love thing, and so that just kind of didn't captivate me. I did end up caring for the characters. Lace and Cluck and Dax as well, I think, had like a few moments where I was like, oh, he's more than just a one-dimensional bully type character. Like I like that there was more to him than that. Another thing I did like about it was the use of the magical realism. I'm generally quite a fan of that kind of writing, and I thought it was done well here. I liked how there were like all these little things that were just a little too magical to be real. Like it was like just enough, you know? So, you know, it's really not all bad. I think where it went wrong for me personally was the writing, which was just not my cup of tea at all, and the like overly used, very predictable romance. And since the romance was such a heavy topic of the book, like it was basically what the book was about, right? That kind of, you know, made this an overall meh experience for me. Would I recommend this book? Maybe if you are very much into like romance and you just can't get enough of that stuff. I don't know, I'm a little frustrated with this because I feel like this could have been so good. I love the idea of like the traveling circuses with like mermaids who are like not really mermaids but kind of a little bit magical anyways, and then like the fairies in the trees who are like also they're like real people but they're like kind of magical. Like that is so cool to me, and I just wish that she would have done something else with that concept. Anyways, I think that's gonna be it for me today. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed me rambling about this book, and I will talk to you in the next video. Goodbye.